Hey, you guys, I wanted to hit you with this awesome story that happened to me maybe a month and a half ago or so now. Happened to me in Royal Oak. I was with a group of my buddies, and so I was only with two of my friends, and we ended up bumping into another friend. And so, anyway, we went out to this club because there's this music festival going on. It was a free show, so it was cool. So we go out, and because we met with my other friends who I don't really see, I was showing them magic tricks, and that got us to introducing a bunch of other people because of the magic tricks. I was getting in a talkative mood where I wanted to show people some entertainment. And so we ended up going to this club nearby, and they weren't letting just anyone in. I remember that they said it was like almost full to capacity, and just they weren't letting anyone in. They had a line outside to get to the basement where the dancing was going on. And so what my friends ended up doing was we were walking around a little bit because we didn't want to wait in line. And I saw people walking the streets, and there were people drinking and stuff, so people were talking to me randomly, of course. And so I was showing them magic tricks on the street, random strangers. And they were appreciative, and I didn't show them anything for too long. I just showed them like one quick thing, moved on to try to keep up with my friends. I get a phone call from my friend Dan, and he tells me to come back to the club that we were just at because they're inside now. And so I go over there, and they got in basically by going through the front door to like the main bar area, and then they went downstairs from there instead of just taking the back door entrance straight to the basement. And so I went there, and he's waving me in. He's like, "Oh, Jared, come inside, blah, blah, blah." And I ended up talking, because I keep telling you guys, try to make friends with the bartender or the bouncers or someone there, like, really quick. You have 3 minutes to make someone your friend. And so I was talking to Lem. That was the guy's name. Whenever I find I told you guys this, whenever I get someone's name, I'll go to my phone quickly and write down in my notes their name and a brief description of who they are so I can remember them for future references. And so Lem was there letting people into the basement, and I showed him the invisible deck trick and just small talk briefly. Showed him the invisible deck trick, and he liked it very much, of course. And he let me downstairs happily. And so I get downstairs. Here's where the story gets interesting. I go downstairs, and I turn the corner to where the dance floor is. Turn the corner, and before I can even get a glimpse of the dance floor, I feel a piece of paper hit me. And I look over, and there's this blonde woman sitting alone by herself, and who threw the piece of paper at me. So I walk over to her, and I say, "Hey, you dropped something." And I go to start to turn away, and that's just always a smart ass thing to say. It's just, "Oh, you dropped something," whenever someone throws something at you. And someone else you can do is like go to pick it up and be like, "Hey, you dropped something," and then just drop it right back on the floor and go turn away. It's something funny you can do. And so I go over to her, and I sit down next to her, and we start talking. And at this point, I just had my backpack on. And my backpack just had my camera, my cards, and my iPad in it. And so I just look like this normal guy here to dance and whatever and just socialize. Under no impression would you think I'm a magician. I didn't have like my black nail polish on or anything like that. It just looked like a completely normal guy with a backpack. And so she's like, "What's in the backpack?" And I told her a camera. And then she took me and brought me to the dance floor, and we danced for like, I don't know, maybe 3 minutes. Maybe, at best. But when we were sitting down, I was like, "Do you know how to dance?" And she said, "Yeah." And so I told her, I grabbed by the wrist, and I tell her, "Come teach me." So that's another good line for women, I guess, is if you're in this kind of situation, you can be like, "Do you know how to dance?" If they say, "Yeah," then you grab them, start to pull them to the dance floor and say, oh, come teach me, and be really excited about it. If they say no, then you just say, I'll teach you, and you grab them and you rip them to the dance floor and start dancing with them. Anyway, so after the 3 minutes of dancing, she just grabs me by the wrist, I grab my backpack, and she starts to pull me upstairs to go meet her friends. And so the time getting into the building, talking to them, and going downstairs was longer than being taken out of the building. And so like I'm going up the stairs and I look back at my friends and they're just laughing. I'm just like, yeah. And they thought it was really funny that I didn't even talk to them. I didn't even like say hi to them once I actually got downstairs. No interaction with them. It's funny. And so I go outside and her friends are just like, what are you, like another Chris Angel or something? And I'm just like, what? They're just like, yeah, I bet you're a magician, aren't you? And I'm just like, yeah. It's like, yeah, she always attracts like a magician type people. I'm just like, what? They're like, I bet you got a pack of cards on you, don't you? Yeah. And like, well, show us a trick. And I was like, okay. And it was the most surreal situation because they had no way of knowing me just because of my backpack, and but I don't know, just intuition, they knew. And so I showed them some really good tricks naturally, and turns out that I end up spending 2.5 hours with these strangers and going with them to another bar and getting dinner with them while like the original blonde woman who's like really drunk was like already getting defensive over me. And I guess it's not really a crowd control story, but it was just a funny story I wanted to share with you guys because you'll find yourself in just the most surreal situations in life, and it's just always be thinking on your toes and be ready for that's why I always say have a pack of cards or two on you, have an invisible deck on you. And they start really getting in your face about it, then just like calm down and you set the tone for how like mature you're going to be about this. And if they get antsy or angry or trying to make you do something that you don't want to do, you never want to show the same trick twice. And just like keep it cool. And so I ended up showing them a few tricks and giving value to their lives, but then after a few tricks, put the cards away, we walked off on our own, and I started talking to them about like my personal life and their personal life and what they do and my video editing stuff. And when we were out to the club, I was doing like number puzzles on napkins for you. I was like done with the cards though. And they really trusted me by the end of the night. And these are just a group of strangers, and they were willing and ready to have me drive them back to their house and stuff like that. So nothing happened with them, but it was still an interesting night, evening, fun, regardless, good memories. So if you guys have any cool stories like this, like feel free to leave a video response in any of the crowd control stories if it's a similar situation, and let me know what you guys did, because yeah, you guys can easily type in the comments, but it's cool to hear a story about it too. So thank you guys very much. I'm going to have a much better crowd control story for you next week. I'm going to have a guest on the show, the guy who actually has been stealing my magic tricks when I first started doing it. And he's a part of the reason why I stopped doing magic for like 2 to 3 years. So I'm going to have him on. I'm going to have him here side by side with me, and you'll get some insight, and it'll probably be like a multiple part video too, because I think we'll be talking about some of Theory 11's tricks and just ideas like that and impromptu stuff, and answer some emails with him that I've gotten from you guys. So again, feel free to email me personally at howtodisturb@gmail.com. Give me your name and where you're from, and let me know if you guys have any questions or want to share any stories, or let me know anything, and I'll respond back to you. All right. Thank you very much. And this is the latest cut I've learned that we can get into. I'll do a little tutorial for this down the road, but it looks something like this. Comes through. And with that, I bid you a farewell.